Hi guys, Wendy Day here. How are you? I have a friend here. This is Damian Ritter. Damian, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Guys, Damian has started this amazing thing called Music Entrepreneur Club. You may remember him from Funk Volume. That's where I first met him. Damian, can you give us a little background on you and how you got into the music industry?
Sure. So I got in the music industry in a pretty unique way. Prior to 2008, I had no music experience. I was a corporate guy, so I was worked as a management consultant for Deloitte Consulting in their strategy and operations group in Chicago. Prior to that, I got my MBA from Stanford.
My favorite school.
Prior to that, I worked at Wells Fargo as an internal auditor. Worked for Goldman Sachs. So I worked in the financial services and consulting industries. But I ultimately got laid off in 2008 from Deloitte, and that's when my little brother reached out to me and said that he wanted to do music full time. He was going to college. But he was frustrated. He couldn't really find a major that suited him.
Right.
He felt he wanted to pursue music full time. So he said, "Dame, can you help me with this?" At the same time, he had a friend of his at the time who was signed to Ruthless. That was Hobson. He was equally as frustrated, but in a different situation. But he wanted to start his own label, so we all kind of came together and started a label, which became Funk Volume. So I jumped in and just kind of tried to figure it out. Just understanding that it's all about the fans. Uh, and
Right.
with that and with that understanding, we just came up with a lot of cool stuff, a lot of creative stuff to kind of build the label, and eventually, just over time, just building that foundation. We eventually signed a couple artists, signed Dizzy Wright and Jaron Benton, had a very successful run. Um, and then it kind of came into a crash and burn about a year and a half ago when Hobson and I had a disagreement, which I thought was a very small disagreement. It kind of snowballed very embarrassingly. So a lot of that, coming out of that is what like how I came to be so passionate about music education because
Right.
I just felt like if there was more education involved, then maybe Funk Volume would be around today. And then I also see I've come across thousands of artists, that I continue to see get in their own way, and kind of prevent their own progress just because they don't understand certain things or they mess up relationships. So I felt it was important to have a or develop a platform like the Music Entrepreneur Club. So that's what I'm doing now. Excited
Yay.
about
I think it's so important. I've been in this industry for 25 years now.
it.
And first of all, nothing prepared me for it. I've got two undergraduate degrees, I've got two master's degrees, and nothing prepared me for the music industry. When I first came in, I went to the school of hard knocks. I kept banging my head, and that's
Right.
how I learned. And I'm so passionate about educating artists, and you've started such an amazing thing, not only because you're as passionate as I am about it, Damien, but you've actually done it. Like, you fucking have done this. And
Yeah.
so many people that I hear speak on panels or that are, you know, having YouTube channels right now to educate artists, they haven't done it. They're sort of looking around and assuming how the music business works, and you can't do that. You can't assume this. Like, you can't watch some music videos and figure it out,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
think Yeah, I think that's the unique perspective that I have in growing this club is because I know what artists are challenged with. I know how difficult it is.
Right.
I know what challenges they're going to face, so we can kind of meet them where they are. I know a lot of times, young artists go to conferences and the information that they receive, it's either it kind of misses them because they might not be ready for certain. I went to the Revolt conference the first year, and it might have changed, but I went to their social media panel, and they were talking about how Beyonce uses her social media, and I was sitting there like, how does that make sense for these artists to hear? Like
For a brand new
Beyonce,
artist.
yeah, she can use her social media any kind of way.
It's going to
So
work
it,
regardless.
yeah, it didn't meet them where they are. These artists need to learn how to make fan one and turn fan one into two, 2 and the 4, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Yes.
I take that approach in developing the curriculum for the Music Entrepreneur Club so that it's information that they can use right away. So I
Awesome.
think it's important.
It is. So, what exactly is the Music Entrepreneur Club? How does it work?
Sure. So the Music Entrepreneur Club is an online education and networking platform for aspiring artists, managers, I would even say producers as well. There's not specific things geared towards producers, but I think producers these days kind of need to develop their career just like artists in
I
terms of the
agree.
branding.
They're a brand.
Right, in terms of network to be successful. So even for producers as well. So it's all online. It's live. It's interactive via webcam. We meet 2 times a week. There's a topic every single week. So let's just say,
Wow.
for example, we're covering management. I will do a lecture slash discussion in either myself or I'll bring in a guest, and then you'll be able to ask questions. So you'll be able to ask questions right away and make sure you get a thorough understanding of whatever topic it is that we're addressing that week. And there's tons of topics to cover when it comes to the music industry because artists, when you're trying to grow your business, I mean, you need to understand management, you need to understand publishing, touring, merchandise. So there's a never-ending list of topics that we can address every week. And also because the music industry changes so much, the marketing session today is probably not going to be the marketing session in 6 months. So
Right.
that's what's cool about the music industry too. We're going to have a topic a different topic to address every week that's relevant. And then the follow-up session, or the second session of the week, is a little more informal, but it's on the same topic, but it's an opportunity to address more questions if you thought about a question a couple days after the
Awesome.
initial session. And then if we run out of questions and everybody got a thorough understanding of whatever the topic is that week, then we'll address current events as well. So
Wow. Okay.
we'll break things down like news that comes out. Like Lil Uzi Vert, there was an article about him receiving 900,000 of 4.5 million that his songs made via streams. And when you see those headlines, people make assumptions with very limited information. So we might take that story and break it
And break
down.
it down.
And some people might say, hey, that he's in a shady deal, but then other people might think otherwise. If we had more information, because a lot of times we're reading those headlines with very little information, and that causes us to make an opinion, which is a probably negative opinion about major labels and the music industry. We just want to break down some of that, or just make sure people understand what's actually happening, as opposed to going off of headlines and just negativity and skepticism of the music industry, which a lot of times can be shady. But I think, but for the most part, I just think that there's a lack of
There
understanding
is.
of a lot of things, and then when people don't understand, they're just quick to say something shady. So I think it's important to break down some of these stories, or just talk about changes that are happening in the industry that might apply to them. I mean, Spotify might announce a new tool that they can use to better reach their fans on their Spotify profile. So we'll
Like
talk
the
about stuff
Spotify
like that.
ads that they're beta
Yeah,
testing right now.
yeah,
Exactly. I,
you
I
know,
think I think informed decisions are so important. As long as you understand what something means, then you can make your own decision. I've been very vocally outspoken against record labels, the major labels, but they have their assets too, and it's
right,
okay to say that whether you like something or you don't like something, as long as you know what that all means.
right.
Tell
Well,
me
well,
about the networking aspect of MEC, because you've got like a really cool
sure.
component, more so than just the education.
Sure. So everybody that joins the MEC has access to a private platform that we use, and I'm constantly going to encourage artists to engage with one another, to share resources, to share information, to hopefully work with one another. I think the hip hop community or the music community, a lot of times we don't do that enough. We don't help each other out enough.
I
And
agree.
there's I encourage competition when it comes to music. Like I like to see competition, but I like to see collaboration more. And I think in the long run, it helps us more, and this is not an industry, we're not selling refrigerators, right? Like if we sold one refrigerator, that our consumer is probably only going to buy one refrigerator. Our industry's not like that. They're musicians, so they can be fans of a lot of different musicians. If I was a musician and I put out an album, and then you put out I can share, your music as well, and hopefully we can share fans and grow together. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for that. I'm going to encourage, people to reach out to one another, and lift each other up. So I think that's going to be a dope aspect. Ultimately, when the club has a decent amount of artists in it, I think that's actually going to be the biggest value of being part of the club, is just them, having this kind of this community, this supportive community. And I hope that at some point, like, they're answering more of each other's questions and I'm answering of theirs. So I think it's
right.
So
I love that aspect of it too. One of the things that helped me build RapCoalition was we had monthly meetings when I first started, and it was wonderful because it would be a room full of anywhere from 100 to 150 artists, and they would talk to each other like, hey, who do you use for street teams? What do you think of this guy? Oh, he's shady. He got me for a couple $100, or, this guy's great. He does a really good job. It was a way for us to share information that you couldn't get anyplace else. And it just felt like it was an easier grind. And back then it was not an easy grind because there was no internet. So it was much harder, but it felt like people bumped their head less. And I think that for what you're doing, this is that. It's going to help people not waste money, not waste time. And they're two things that most artists don't have an endless supply of. They don't have a lot of time, and they don't have a lot of money.
Right. And neither do I. I think it helps the quote unquote business people as well. I'm tired of seeing, artists that have to make their own mistakes. It wastes our time as well. Like, we don't want to work with artists that continue to have to make their own mistakes. You want to work with artists that, want to learn. And can get out of their own way, because we don't have an endless supply of time either. So hopefully it helps theoretically it lessens the tension between everybody, and we can all move forward without any of the bull, so that's what I'm hoping.
I think this will be great for industry folks too. Industry people who really want to learn the business. I know so many DJs that know so much about DJing, but they don't understand, how a record label works, or what happens when somebody gets a record deal. I've got friends that work in publicity that don't understand how A&R works or how marketing works. So I think this has value so far beyond just artists,
Right. Yeah, I constantly see producers complain about artists and why they're not getting paid, and why they're like the low man on the totem pole. We'll have a session that talks about that, that talks about how to build better relationships with producers, how to be more transparent with your negotiations, what should be in your contract, how producers should get paid, because a lot of times it's not the artist not wanting to pay the producer. It's just they're not sure how to work out that relationship. So, I don't ever want a lack of understanding, or a lack of understanding shouldn't get in the way of putting out some dope music.
Right.
I want that to be as easy a process as possible, so we can get to the fans, get the music out, and everybody be happy without somebody tweeting or making a meme about an artist that doesn't pay. So in theory, it's all gonna work so that people can navigate the industry with less skepticism and lower the tension. So we'll see. That's the goal.
And is it for all genres of music?
Yes, I believe so. I mean, my experience is in hip hop, but I see no difference in pursuing R&B or country. I mean, we're all trying to
whatever.
Right, we're trying to grow a fan base, and I would say 99.9% of it is going to be the same, if you're trying to do this independently or just build a business around your career. So publishing for a hip hop artist is the same as publishing for, a country star. So I believe that all genres will benefit from it.
Awesome,
Sure.
thank you. Do you want to talk about pricing at all?
Sure, sure. So the pricing is currently set at $49, 49.99 a month. And then if you buy the whole year, you get a 2 month discount. And I know that a lot of artists will come back to me and say, "Hey, that's really expensive." And I understand that artists, there's some artists that don't have that money available. But I would say a few things. If you look at that price relative to pursuing or acquiring information, access to information in another industry, you're going to pay a lot more than that, like a ton more than even if you want to cut hair or be a plumber, you're going to pay thousands of dollars to do that. And then I also looked at pricing relative to attending a conference, right? So unless the conference is in your city, you're probably going to pay for a flight, you're going to pay for a hotel,
Food,
South
travel.
yeah, South by Southwest, those badges are not cheap. So if you go to South by Southwest, you're going to be paying over $1,000. And for a whole year of this club, you can be a part of it for $500. So, I think the pricing is reasonable. I do need to get artists to understand the value of information. In my lifetime, getting my degrees and going to seminars and trainings and things like that, I've probably spent over 300 grand trying to get access to information. And I understand that it's a little bit different, but the information is valuable. Good information is valuable.
Yes, good information is valuable. Well, all information is valuable. It's what you do with it, but good information is it's hard to put a price on that because it's almost invaluable, you know.
Right.
There's so much
Yeah,
incorrect information in the music industry.
for sure. And this is I bring very solid people to the table, such as yourself. But I got really dope guests, and these aren't people that just started working in music. These are people that have been in the game for quite some time. So just an example of a few of the guests that I have. Initially, I got Crooked Eye, who's a 1/4 of Slaughterhouse. He's going to come in and share his experience. I got my guy Lee LaRue. He's a senior vice president at Warner Brothers. So he's not an analyst. These are people that have been in the game for a long time. They can talk about a lot of things because they've had their own path as well.
Right.
He's been a radio guy and he can break down radio and all the myths around how to get a song on radio. I got my guy Justin Hunt coming through. He was the former chief editor of Hip Hop DX. Now he's head of video at Ambrosia for Head. So these are heavy hitters. So I think people have to understand the value of that and the value of their time, my time, and it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be worth it. $50 relative to what you have to spend to kind of get your career off the ground.
Right.
I assure you, you're going to save more than $50 listening to me and the other guests that I bring in.
Oh, I guarantee that. I can guarantee that without even going there. I can guarantee that.
For sure. I mean, yeah. So, I think it's a very fair price. But that's and then if you use the Wendy Day code, you'll get access for $40 a month. So if you use Wendy Day, use the access code Wendy Day, and you'll get access for $40 a month. So that'll be
That's
awesome.
awesome. Thank you, Damian.
No, my pleasure. I appreciate you having me on this platform. So
Absolutely. I reach people that want to learn about the music business, and I'm always frustrated because I make one video about a topic and I go live once a month, so the networking opportunities aren't there. I don't have the time to devote to this. This is your whole thing. Like, this is your whole life. So
Right.
I'm so supportive of what you're doing. There are no words for this.
I appreciate
And
it.
I'm gonna join too, right? I'm gonna
Yeah,
be a
I was
member.
about to say I'm gonna pull you into as many sessions as possible to get
Absolutely. And I'm gonna fucking pay for it.
that's not necessary, but I think
No,
you're
it really is. In the industry, we don't support each other, and I'm buying a membership because
well,
this is your
I appreciate
business.
I appreciate that. I think other people's perspective is so necessary because there's not one way to do this anymore.
Right. Right.
Somebody might opt to sign to a major record label. And a lot of time major deals don't work out, but there's some people that are happy in their situations, and we need to
There's a
understand
lot.
what's the difference. Like what was a happy person's experience versus a pissed off person's experience. And then even when you operate independently, there's a difference between, there's a huge gap between like Chance the Rapper and like people that are, just kind of making it check to check. Their Spotify check might just be clearing enough for their expenses, versus Chance the Rapper who's on the Forbes list. How do we understand, how one person got here, the other person got here, and everything in between? There's a ton of ways to approach music these days. So we need as many perspectives to join as possible. Because I'm constantly learning. I mean, things are
Me
constantly
too.
changing. So we got to stay up on everything that's going on.
Absolutely. That's how we stay relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Damien, this has been really great. Did I leave anything out? Is there anything that I should have asked that I didn't?
No. So our first session starts October 2nd. That's Monday. I believe October 2nd is a Monday. It might be October 1st. I'm not sure. Anyway, Monday. And like I said, we're gonna meet twice a week. We're gonna jump right into it. And I think it's gonna be really cool. My vision for this is to eventually be that go-to platform for real information. I know that you're going to continue to give artists information on your YouTube channel and things like that.
Yeah,
But
but
in
I'm just
terms,
touching the surface. It's not the same.
yeah, but so in terms of the community, I want people to eventually, just be able to turn to the MEC I want that to be the first thought. Like if they're about to get a manager and they're not sure how that's supposed to work, they bring that question immediately to the MEC, just like they would probably be quick to Google something. And we can talk about what a manager does, how a manager typically gets compensated, so we can sort through, so people can understand, how to successfully negotiate these things. So I'm looking
Outstanding.
forward to it. Cool.
I love it. So October 2nd is Monday, and I'm going to launch this right away because I didn't realize it was starting that fast. So we're on it.
Yeah, and I'll be out in A3C next week to talk about the Music Entrepreneur Club. I have the support of A3C. They're going to be helping me push it. DJ Booth has been a great partner. They're going to be helping me push it. Some real credible platforms getting behind. So I'm trying to, get credible platforms behind, credible people behind, so people understand,
That it's real.
yeah, that it's real. So I'm excited.
Outstanding. Damien, thanks for your time today. Thanks for doing this. I know how
My
much work it is, and I really respect that you're doing this. This is incredible.
my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure.
Bye bye.
Bye, Damien.